Two explosions rocked the Israeli capital today in a deadly terror attack of a kind we haven't seen in years. So far, one person has been killed and over a dozen wounded. This escalation follows a rise in the number of terror attacks over the last several months in the West Bank. What should Israel's next moves be? The Jerusalem Press Club talks today with Avi Melamed, a former intelligence officer in the IDF, a senior Arab affairs analyst, and founder of the Inside the Middle East Institute. Thank you for joining us on this hard day, Mr. Melamed.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
How do you explain this rise in the level of attacks? Are we likely to see continued use of these methods, which remind us of the second Intifada?
Let's start. It's nothing yet like the second Intifada. We saw today a terror attack that was somewhat different from previous ones that we kind of got used to see in the last couple of years, namely mostly stabbing attacks or random shooting carried out by individuals. This morning attack is different in the sense that it's more likely planned and coordinated attack. It's not done by somebody that just woke up this morning and decided to detonate bus stops, but it's yet not the second Intifada. We've been to this place and we are going to be more in this place. It's not the first time and it's not the last time.
Can we guess who might be responsible for this act?
Islamic Jihad and Hamas already obviously congratulate the perpetrators of this attack and bless them. To the best of my knowledge, thus far, there has been no formal claim of responsibility by any of those organizations. We may come across a name which may be some kind of like a camouflage or name that stands for some different terror cell. At some point, maybe we should have more clear information about the real identity or clear identity of the people beyond this attack. But I think that it's quite clear at this moment that we're looking at something that was much more structured and planned in advance. Takes time to plan this attack. The locations were chosen, obviously following after some sort of like intelligence gathering. The method used also indicate that it was different from regular similar attacks or previous attacks that we witnessed, and therefore it's kind of like in that sense it's different in comparison to the previous one.
What would you advise the new government probably to enter soon to do now?
Look, we've been dealing with the issue of terror in a wave of terror in different forms and shapes. I think that in a sense I would expect Israeli intelligence services to be able to quite rapidly know who is involved in these attacks and act accordingly. But we should all be very clear about it. It's not something that is going to disappear, regardless of the government as in power.
So what will be the turning point before the leadership scales up policy, perhaps in the form of a defensive shield style operation, or maybe like Itamar Ben-Gvir suggested today, targeted killing again?
Well, I think that from both operational as well as political and diplomatic perspectives, we shouldn't expect something in that scale. I mean, we have to go back to some sort of reminding ourselves. You started this interview talking about the second Intifada. That's not the second Intifada. It's nothing like what happened in the second Intifada when we deal with the challenge of massive suicide bombers attacks. Maybe some people in Israel have a short memory for whatever the reason is, but it's not. That's not the case. I don't see currently any Israeli big counter reaction to that issue. One of the reasons is also the fact that the Palestinian Authority right now is in a very challenging juncture. And it would be very unwise of Israel to further destabilize the Palestinian Authority, which already is struggling. It's very clear that whoever was beyond that terror attack, and I may have some thoughts about it, one of the hopes of that perpetrators is that there would be some sort of like a Rush reaction suggested like Mr. Ben-Gvir, and that may lead to further destabilizing of the situation in Palestinian territories controlled by the Palestinian Authority. So I think that the wise thing to Israel to do is not to play to the hand of that perpetrators or whoever planned that terror attack, and do not do something that will further destabilize the current very fragile reality of the Palestinian Authority.
Okay, in a maybe wider look, what are the chances that this might spill over to other areas in the region? Today we saw a report on an Iranian officer killed in Syria due to an alleged Israeli act. Could this act maybe lead to shooting of missiles from Gaza or something bigger?
No, I don't see that happening. And we are looking at different arenas. You mentioned Syria, Iran. That's a different arena. The common denominator is, of course, the Iranian regime has a lot of interest to ignite as much as possible, as far as the Iranian regime is concerned, to ignite as possible the Israeli-Palestinian arena. But I don't foresee any escalation or deterioration following that attack this morning, in the sense of we are not going to witness, to the best of my understanding and reading, burst of violence in Gaza Strip. That is not Hamas' interest. This is not Israel's interest. So I would say that in the end of the day, I would assume that the Israeli next steps will be mostly confined into some more intelligence / pinpoint operative activities, as it should be in this case.
Avi Melamed, thank you for talking to us today, and we wish all a better day.
Thank you so much for having me.
We hope you enjoyed that briefing by the Jerusalem Press Club. If you did, like the video and hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our future content.